So, one of the major issues that people have with learning new skills or dieting or, learning an instrument or something is that motivation can be very fleeting. It's really easy to start something, but it's really hard to keep going for weeks, maybe months or years on end. And the secret sauce, so to speak, seems to be getting the practice or the study as part of your daily routine. And to be clear, this is easier said than done, but I think that people in general approach language learning in a really bad way that sets them up for failure. So, take textbooks, for example. And I think textbooks are one of the major problems in language learning. Now, textbooks themselves are a very good idea. I can understand why you'd want to create it. You want to have a compact source of information, exercises, as is, dictionary. These are all really good ideas. These are really useful resources, and these are things that are very helpful to a language learner. But textbooks also have a number of really big downsides. I guess there's really two main downsides that textbooks have. The first is that they're just boring. It's really hard to get textbooks as a part of your daily routine because they're just absolutely a slog to get through. The other issue with textbooks, in my opinion, are that they're in the wrong format for the way our brains work. So when you're actually speaking Finnish, or reading or writing or whatever, you're not really relying on your declarative knowledge of phrase structure or the cases or the verb endings. What you're actually using when you're using Finnish is a sort of scaffold of connections between the words and the structures of the language. And you build the scaffold through exposure to the language itself, not through reading a textbook. And so my study method with Bluey tries to fix these problems because Bluey's a lot more fun compared to reading a textbook, and because the study method itself just involves reading and translating a bunch of Finnish sentences. That said, though, the operative ingredient, I think, that makes my study method work is actually the flashcards. There's this kind of opinion I've heard around in language learning circles where people say that the words themselves aren't so important. It's better to have a good, thorough understanding of the grammar. And I think that's actually backwards. In my experience, the biggest bottleneck has always been vocabulary, where you just cannot express yourself if you don't have the words, and you just won't be able to understand what people are saying if you don't have the words. And so really, the most important thing you can ever do in language learning is getting your vocabulary as high as you can. It's never a mistake to learn vocabulary in language learning. Some other just general thoughts about language learning. Sleep is really, really important. So I used to have a regimen of language learning where I would drill about 150 to 200 vocab words every day. And doing this same process every single day, I could compare on the days where I got a full night's rest versus the nights when I got, only 6 hours or so. And if I wasn't fully rested, it would take over 2 times as long. On a good day, I could get through 150 words in 45 minutes. But if I was poorly rested, it would take me like 2 hours to get through that. So sleep is an absolutely really important thing. People say, college kids especially, they'll talk about how little sleep they get. And they say, oh, I need the extra time. But if you compare someone with 8 hours of sleep versus someone with 6 hours of sleep, so one thing I've noticed, if you listen to your favorite song while you're fully rested versus while you're really tired, the song actually sounds faster when you're tired because your thoughts are going slower and they can't keep up, so it sounds like the song is rushing. So when you decrease your night's rest from 8 hours to 6 hours, I mean, sure, you get 2 extra hours of wakefulness, but during the whole day, your thoughts are going 10% slower, so you end up losing out in the end. The second thing I'd say about language learning is that having high quality input is really important. So if you take the Bluey episode I've been doing, one of the problems I've actually been having is that the subtitles don't match what the characters are saying. And this is actually a pretty big downside when it comes to the studying that I'm doing, because I have to spend extra time figuring out what the character's saying. And sure, that helps with my listening comprehension, I suppose, but overall, it makes the process less efficient because the input isn't as high quality. And that's the second important thing, is having high quality input is a really important aspect of language learning. Another little tip that I've found useful is actually taking a shower. So a lot of the times whenever I'm not feeling motivated and I don't really want to study, I've found that if I take a shower, afterwards I feel ready to go. And that has been actually quite helpful for me. And then the last tip I would say is to try to budget your mental energy. So for me, I have about 4 hours worth of mental energy where I can do, mental exertion. And whenever I try to go past that, I always end up being really inefficient, and it just causes problems if I try to do more than that. So if you run past your limit, you should probably just take a nap or something, go do some video games, go do something fun, because, if you go past that limit, you're not actually continuing your progress. You're mostly just frustrating yourself and not making any progress. At least that's how it works for me. But anyway, I hope you find the tips useful. Obviously, everyone's different, and you should try to find your own idiosyncrasies and everything. But without further ado, let's just get to the episode.